Hello and welcome back to the one and only Lore Lockdown, and we are back with yet another video related to the He-Man universe. Back in 1982, Mattel put a barrel-chested warrior on shelves packed with mini-comics, with the figures, and even turned the weapons into part of the mythology. He-Man and Skeletor famously came with halves of the power sword, and when joined together, that sword became tied to the mystery of Castle Grayskull itself. That was how He-Man and the entire universe came to be, because over the course of the next 40 years, numerous fans like me and you loved the entire lore of all the characters and the weapons so much that the creators knew that they had hit a jackpot. Since then, in Masters of the Universe, weapons were no longer just tools to attack or defend. They were the power. Whoever wielded the correct weapon at the correct time was guaranteed to win, be it Hordak on the losing side or even He-Man. Quick warning before we unlock the vault, Masters of the Universe has multiple continuities: mini-comics, Filmation, the 1987 movie, the 2002 series, DC Comics, Revelation, and more. So for this list, we are ranking weapons by their strongest or most interesting versions across the franchise, not pretending every detail belongs to one single timeline. In today's video, we will be talking about the 7 most powerful weapons in the entire Masters of the Universe franchise. So, grab a bucket of popcorn and get comfy, because I am going to hit you with the Staff of Nostalgia in 3, 2, 1.
Power of Grayskull!
The Power Sword. Of course, the first weapon on this list was going to be the Power Sword. The show was called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, after all. Long before Prince Adam ever raised the sword back in Eternia's ancient past, King Grayskull needed a weapon powerful enough to stand against Hordak and the forces threatening his world. He needed it so badly that he decided to go to Subternia, basically the underworld of Masters of the Universe lore, and struck a deal with the spectral Scareglow. That was when he was given a rare dark ore that no one had laid their eyes on before. Without wasting any more time, he rushed to Eternia and handed it over to the Trollan Magesmiths, who fused the dark ore with his own Preternian sword, and finally forged one of the strongest swords in all of existence, the Power Sword. Sometime later, when King Grayskull faced Hordak and the Evil Horde, he used the sword's power in a final, sacrificial stand. He stopped Hordak's invasion, but the victory cost him his life. But he did one last thing before he took his last breath. King Grayskull decided to pour his soul and his life force right into the sword, giving the sword an extra boost of power. So yeah, the Power Sword is not just metal. It carries King Grayskull's sacrifice, his legacy, and the power that later champions inherit. For centuries after this battle, a few champions came and went who could wield the sword and attain its powers, but no one was truly strong enough, both physically and mentally, to wield this sword until Prince Adam showed up. At first glance, Prince Adam of Eternia seemed like a young, kind of lazy, pink-vested royal who had never seen a day of hardship in his life. But when he raised the sword and screamed, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power!" everyone knew that he was the champion destined to carry Grayskull's power into the next age. Even better was the fact that not only did Prince Adam turn into He-Man, but his cowardly tiger, known as Cringer, also got a major power boost and turned into Battle Cat. That was when He-Man realized that the sword not only gave him the power boost, but it also powered up everyone around him. But the sword's capabilities actually went so far beyond just transformation too. The Power Sword could channel the power and will of all its previous wielders. That was why, although King Grayskull could not survive Hordak's invasion, after years and years of getting stronger and stronger, Prince Adam got one of the strongest versions of the sword. I know I'm talking a lot about this sword, but trust me, it could do so much. Like, for example, it was practically indestructible. Unless, of course, the plot needed it to be broken. But along with that, it could also fire energy blasts, deflect lethal attacks, and in the original mini-comics, it even used to serve as the literal key to Castle Grayskull's drawbridge. If you did not have the sword, then you would not be able to enter, and guess what? If you could not enter the castle, then forget about getting the power in the first place. And do you want to know the best part? The Power Sword is not only a weapon, it is quite literally a cosmic anchor. That means that this sword is one of the biggest reasons magic still flows through Eternia in the first place. This was proven when, back in the Masters of the Universe Revelation, it was destroyed and magic started to die almost instantly across the entire planet. And if you did not know, if Eternia was to be destroyed, the universe would follow. This was the one weapon in the entire Masters of the universe that every single villain wanted their hands on, and every single hero was ready to die protecting. Because this sword was not only the most iconic weapon, it was one of the biggest reasons Eternia still existed.
My whole life has changed because of this sword.
The Sword of Protection, She-Ra's sword. The Sword of Protection, at first glance, used to look quite similar to He-Man's sword, but with a jewel embedded on its hilt. It had the same shape, it looked like a sister weapon to He-Man's sword, and in the DC Comics continuity, it is tied deeply to the same Grayskull power structure. So this led many to believe that the writers actually gave the female lead a revised copy of her twin brother's weapon. But this thinking is one of the biggest mistakes I have seen people make in the Masters of the Universe. The Sword of Protection was actually not forged by King Grayskull. Instead, the Goddess of Grayskull was the one who forged it, and she made it so similar to the Power Sword because it was meant to be just as strong as it, but with a twist strong enough to even defeat the wielder of the Power Sword. According to the 2015 DC Comics series, He-Man: The Eternity War, the Sword of Protection was made specifically to be used as a failsafe. If the user wielding the Power Sword was ever to get fully corrupted by its power, or for any other reason, the Sword of Protection had the power to kill the user if needed. That is right. In the DC Comics continuity, She-Ra was not just He-Man's twin. She was basically Grayskull's emergency failsafe if the Power Sword ever fell under corrupted control. And now that we have started to talk about She-Ra, let's talk about her and her connection with the sword. She-Ra's real name was Princess Adora. According to the lore, she was kidnapped by Hordak just after her birth, and she was raised as a top soldier for the evil Horde until she soon discovered who she was and who she really was meant to be in the 1985 Filmation film, The Secret of the Sword. Just as He-Man used to raise his sword and say, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power," she also needed to utter the words, "By the honor of Grayskull, I am She-Ra," in order to go through her transformation. But like her twin brother, what came through her transformation was not just raw, controlled power, oh no. It was something far more dangerous. It was precision. If the Power Sword was a battering ram, then I would say that the Sword of Protection was a Swiss Army knife with cosmic authority. This sword was capable of so many things. It could shapeshift into a strong shield, a lasso, a helmet, and even a freaking flaming blade, just by a voice command given by She-Ra. She-Ra could also use this sword to draw in the mystical and magical energy from Eternia itself, which would not just punish her physical strength beyond her body's capabilities, but could also instantly heal wounds while interacting with nature. He-Man could only dream of doing these, to be honest, but it does make me wonder, what if Prince Adam had been kidnapped by Hordak? How terrifying would he have been? Hordak's corrupted sword of power. Almost every villain in the story wants the powers the hero has, and Hordak was no different. Just like others, Hordak did not just want the Power Sword. He needed it to fulfill his wishes to destroy Eternia. But there was one big difference between him and the other villains. He did not just wait for the sword to fall into his hands, nor did he really expect a lot from his minions. Instead, he decided to make himself a new one. For years, he studied the Power Sword, and slowly but surely, he engineered a sword capable of rivaling the Power Sword. You know, in the DC Comics continuity, the Sword of Power and Sword of Protection were not forged in just any workshop. They were created in the secret forge of Grayskull, which could only be opened by one specific thing: the blood of a direct descendant of King Grayskull himself. So throughout the storyline of the Eternity War, Hordak's plan had been to get a vial of He-Man's blood so that he could enter the forge of Grayskull and make himself a weapon that could do much more than just weaken or kill He-Man. In the story, once Hordak gained the blood, he fused it with his own, and that was how he was able to forge one of the most terrifying weapons from the strongest forge in the Masters of the Universe, his own corrupted Sword of Power. Hordak was so strong and full of himself that in order to gain his power, he did not even have to say anything noble to get it. Instead, all he had to do was chant the words, "I am the power," and voila, he would turn into a character capable of defeating even the strongest of the heroes. Hordak used this sword to do a lot of things. He once chose to change the entire look of Castle Grayskull, not into just a normal face, but into the shape of his own face. This man was a villain. Unfortunately, not a lot was shown or done by this sword, so very little data is there to work on. But because of King Grayskull's blood and Hordak's dark intentions fused with the steel in the blade, this sword was probably capable of rivaling the Power Sword and standing against the Sword of Protection. Hordak's corrupted Sword of Power was not just a weapon, it was a desecration. The Havoc Staff. The Havoc Staff is essentially a stick with a skull at its tip. That is it. That is the entire weapon. And yet, this weapon is feared by everyone, including heroes like He-Man. Long ago, during ancient times, there used to be a deity known as Havoc, and the Havoc Staff was essentially one of its relics. In the Revelation era backstory, Hordak passes the Havoc Staff to Keldor during his training, and the staff's curse burns away his face, pushing him toward the monster we know as Skeletor. But in the 2002 continuity, fans should remember that the face injury plays out differently, with Keldor being scarred by acid before Hordak's dark magic saves and transforms him. That is why Skeletor seems so inhuman. In some versions, the staff had already claimed its wielder's humanity long before it was even raised against He-Man. In the animated series, the Havoc Staff was often referred to as Skeletor's magic amplifier because it could channel energy blasts and also enable him to see anything that he wanted, simply through a crystal ball that was embedded in the skull on the staff. It was also highly durable as it could take on attacks from the Power Sword. So yes, it was durable, but not very dangerous, you know. At least it was not until the 1987 film, which was also known as Masters of the Universe. In this movie, Skeletor actually managed to absorb the power of Grayskull and turned into a golden godlike creature, and not gonna lie, after Frieza got his evolution in Dragon Ball Super, it instantly reminded me of God Skeletor from this movie. Once Skeletor attained this form, the Havoc Staff became the object that channeled his godhood, and for 5 glorious, terrifying minutes, a man in a skull mask wielding a staff was effectively a proper deity. Until, of course, he lost. But we don't talk about it. If you thought that was a lot, Masters of the Universe Revelation pushed the danger even further. In this series, Skeletor used the Havoc Staff to crack open the Orb of Power. It is something which we will talk about later in the video, but essentially, he cracked the Orb of Power, shattered the Power Sword, and triggered a magical collapse that threatened Eternia, and eventually the universe itself. Can you believe it? A stick with a skull on it was the reason the universe almost ended. Crazy. The Cosmic Key. Will you believe me if I said that this weapon has no blade, no staff, and it is not even really related to any ancient bloodlines? Yet this weapon gave Skeletor one of his cleanest victories over He-Man and Castle Grayskull. The Cosmic Key was created by Gwildor, who was a master locksmith known all throughout Eternia. He created the Cosmic Key in such a way that could only operate through music. Sounds weird, right? Well, it used to play a set of tunes that set the dimensional coordinates of any possible place, and the device could then transport, or let's say teleport, whoever activated the device to that specific place. The device could open portals across impossible distances and dimensions, letting whoever controlled it appear where they should never have been able to reach. The Cosmic Key was so powerful that it did not need to charge. Neither was any specific ritual needed to activate it. It could straight up just teleport you almost anywhere, instantly. The first person to ever wield the Cosmic Key was Gwildor himself, but soon a villain named Evil Lyn tricked Gwildor into handing it over. This led to Skeletor possessing this device and leading a full-on invasion of Castle Grayskull, the most fortified place on the planet, even before they had time to set up their defenses. When this happened, not only was Castle Grayskull breached, but the sorceress was also imprisoned. This led to the fall of Eternia as a whole, and fun fact, this was the first time Skeletor actually succeeded in winning during the opening act itself. The worst part about this weapon was the fact that it did not have to be lethal, because if your enemies cannot even defend their home before you arrive, are they even a problem to you anyway? Funny how one of the most dangerous weapons on this list is not a sword or a staff, but a magical, multi-dimensional door. The Eye of Chaos and Eye of Krono. If you have watched our last video, 6 darkest moments from He-Man comics that never made it to animation explained, I am sure that you are at least aware of the existence of the Eyes of Grayskull. And if you don't, do not fret. Back when King Grayskull was alive, his trusty advisor Adi actually proposed the idea of placing 2 ancient gems into the eye sockets of Castle Grayskull. Once these 2 gems were in place, the Eye of Krono would tune into time and the Eye of Chaos would tune into space, and when they were put together, the combined power would be strong enough to destroy anything in its path. King Grayskull hated this idea and immediately refused because he knew that no one should have that much power in the palm of their hands. But what he did not know was that Adi was actually being possessed by none other than King Hiss. Soon, Adi betrayed King Grayskull, which eventually led to his demise. During that battle, the gems were lost, and for a long time, everyone believed that the eyes of Grayskull were not even real. But eventually, Skeletor got his hands on the Eye of Chaos. Little did everyone know, the sorceress had the Eye of Krono, and when she got to know that Skeletor had the other eye, she immediately took measures to hide her part of the pair in the sands of time, so that Skeletor could not get the second eye too, because if both eyes came together, it would mean the death of the universe. That sounds simple on paper, but it was horrifying in practice. Together, the gems could turn Castle Grayskull into a weapon capable of striking across space and time. So, I guess it is good that our heroes were able to prevent it from ever getting activated. The Orb of Power. As I promised, the final most powerful weapon we will be talking about in our video is the infamous Orb of Power. For over 40 freaking years, we have seen numerous villains try to take over Castle Grayskull, be it Skeletor, Hordak, or even the Snake Men. All of them had endlessly tried to be the one to possess the powers of Castle Grayskull, but in my opinion, every single one of them was after the wrong thing. Castle Grayskull was never really the prize. It was actually a disguise made to hide something far stronger and far more dangerous. Most people in Eternia were not aware that Castle Grayskull was actually constructed in order to hide the Hall of Wisdom that lay beneath it. Deep beneath the illusion of Castle Grayskull was the Hall of Wisdom, where the Council of Elders had concentrated their power into the Orb of Power. At least that was what most people who were aware of this orb knew, but reality was different. The Council of Elders had not just conjoined their powers, but they had quite literally transformed into the power that the orb possessed, making it immeasurably strong. This orb was the single thing capable of controlling all the magic in all of Eternia. In Revelation, this orb was so powerful that even though Prince Adam was in his He-Man form and Skeletor was at his peak, after the Orb of Power got smashed, not only did it completely vaporize both He-Man and Skeletor, but it also broke the Power Sword into 2 pieces, while the rest of the universe felt the shatter of this power orb. The reason I placed such a powerful weapon at the end of the video and the Power Sword at the very beginning is because the Power Sword was the most iconic weapon in all of the He-Man franchise, while the Orb of Power was one of the biggest reasons the sword possessed any magic in it in the first place. Every single weapon I have discussed in this video was once just a piece of cardboard that was brought to life by the love of hundreds of thousands of fans, if not millions. All of these weapons were either a sword, a staff, a glowing crystal, or just 2 gems, sold alongside a moral lesson at the end of a 22-minute long episode. That's it. For over 40 years, the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe franchise has been growing non-stop, and that is why this franchise has never gone easy on making overpowered weapons capable of destroying Eternia, if not the entire universe. The only thing that determines the future of their universe is who is wielding which weapon at what time. Comment down below if you think you would be able to control so much power without getting corrupted. And if you could, how would you tackle the problems He-Man had to go through in the series? Oh, and while you are down there commenting away, please hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the bell icon so that you never miss another episode from this channel. Till we meet again in another exciting and adrenaline-rushing video, Lore Lockdown signing out.